Hello, everyone. This weekend, November 9th, on Saturday, at 8 p.m. British Standard Time, we will be hosting a showcase race for the first time in RPL history. This showcase race will have the top 6 drivers from each tier, Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3, obviously F2 excluded, only F1 cars, only for this one, which will do one race together, having an 18-car race, and the drivers who are selected to participate in this, they are the ones who were really selected as the best in the tier practically. This race, this Saturday, will be done in equal F1 World Cars, Tier 3 running the purple livery, Tier 2 running a green livery, and Tier 1 running a red-based livery. The thing about this race with those liveries is that's based on the tier colors in the Discord server. Now, you're probably wondering, alright, how long is this event? Well, this event is going to, originally was supposed to be a 50% event around the Mexico City circuit. Well, it got moved to a 35% race for closer racing and all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be 27 laps this Saturday, 8 p.m., UK time. I said British Standard Time, but, whatever, same thing. And, the grid is decided by Tier 3 drivers starting in the first 6 slots, then Tier 2, then Tier 1. That's basically how it is. And we're going to find out what happens, obviously, on this Saturday. But in the meantime, we have a lineup to go through. We have drivers to introduce. And let's get on with it. Before we introduce the drivers, I want to talk about the 2 commentators. Definitely 2 of the wildest guys you could probably imagine. One is a former Tier 1 champion and F2 champion, Mally41, multiple race wins across all tiers, at least 15. And then Owen McMoran, who actually has the longest drought in between wins in RPL F1. 3 wins in that tier. A Tier 2 champion numerous times. An F2 winner. And probably Ireland's best RPL driver. Sorry, Polo God and others who are disappointed of trying to hold that. But Owen, 37, Owen McMoran, Mally41. Those are your 2 commentators for the event. That makes up 20 spots in the lobby. So now here comes the other 18 spots with the drivers. Just keep in mind with these drivers that we're going to introduce, we're going to give you some insight on them as to who they are. Some of it will be comedic, comedy forced. Others that we mentioned with the drivers will be statistic based. So we're going to give basically just about a 60-second intro to each of these upcoming 18 drivers that are partaking in the event. But also, we're going to let you know a little bit about who they are within RPL, not just based on their stats, but like we said, based on, comedy type of references. So let's get going with it. We're going to start with Tier 3 first, and we're starting with our champion of the tier, ERT Uri, also known as the driver who got stuck behind the track map and got kicked out of a Grand Prix early. Yep, I'm talking about him, Uri. There may have been some inconsistencies from Season 1 to Season 2, but one thing that did stay consistent was the fact that he had great pace. He got lots of wins during the championship season, Lots of poles, lots of podiums, and also lots of frustration. He had, at one point before the final race in Japan, left the league and then came back in. He kind of forgot where he was at. You could also claim the same thing in Brazil because he was literally put under the map as a Fortnite glitch. So Uri, who raced here in Mexico back in Season 1 of Tier 3, obviously will be looking to repeat the same pace he had and He's one of the drivers who get claimed to be too fast for this tier, so he won't be in this tier next season, but he's representing it for the showcase race. Turbo Jacob, also known as Turbo Cub 1 sack. Didn't get sacked from his team for losing the championship, but he did finish second, and also he clearly didn't have enough turbo to win it. But I think this guy showed a lot of promise in this most recent season. Getting McLaren's first win, getting a lot of poles. You know, he held him and Uriah held 9 of the 10 poles during the season. A lot of podiums, and only losing the championship by 2.5 points. So Turbo, also another rookie for Tier 2 next season, also someone who's claimed to be too fast for the tier. Has a lot of promise there. Then you got our third driver listed here, Goatley. Also gets told he's doing some GOATA things. In his first RPL race in F2 in Imola, he was doing a somersault and backflips all over the circuit. Some also say he's one of the most dirtiest drivers. It makes sense he comes from America, but nonetheless, Goatley won pole position. That happened earlier in the season, and he actually almost got a Tier 2 win before a Tier 3 win. He still doesn't have a Tier 3 win, but a Tier 2 podium, multiple Tier 3 podiums, and a promotion to Tier 2. A lot of good things to look forward to for this guy. And Goatley, just please, please, please stay out of incidents. You'll probably get a race win at that point. RSF1 Invade, on probably the biggest watch list before joining Ferrari as a team principal. Not the terrorist watch list, the watch list of not being allowed in a top car. For Invade's case, he has more race wins on track unofficially, than he does officially. The interesting thing for Invade is that he's probably been one of the best team principals for Ferrari's sake. You know, remember the whole shenanigans before he took over with J&T and Tadpole, with everyone being traded, and then Invade actually got those drivers back? Yeah, well, Invade has played a big role to this team, and a lot of people do like him. But I don't think a lot of people like the fact that he gets too many track limit penalties. That's his biggest downfall. But he almost had a chance of winning in back-to-back seasons, would have been the only driver to do so in Tier 3. And, you know, maybe if he changed traction, you know, from full to medium, he could have won some. But no, for real, for Invade's sake, our first Tier 3 winner, a few podiums to his name in F2. This guy definitely had a lot of promise for Season 2 Tier 3. Didn't really capitalize too much on it, but although he's dropping down to a reserve, less pressure could mean if he does get a Ferrari start at some point, there could be a race win on the cards. Remember, a race winner in China, a race winner in Bahrain, still no poles to his name. Then our fifth driver on this list is Ardell. RPL Ardell, not ERS Ardell, RPL Ardell. He changed his name recently in the last few months to make us forget that he managed his ERS very poorly. And also his track limits are pretty bad too, but we'll just ignore that. His internet has probably been the Achilles heel for him more recently. Because if it weren't for that, he'd probably have an RPL race win by now. For Ardell's case, a few podiums to his name, potential at a race win, and also moving back up to Tier 2 next season. So this whole list really are drivers who you could say, oh, well, they're too fast for Tier 3. Yeah, right. Well, that's what some claimed at least. For Ardell's case, few race wins were on the card. Didn't happen. Internet issues, track limit penalties, some things due to his own fault or not, whatever. Ardell's the only Canadian representing this event. So I would have to say a win-win right there. Definitely shown to do well for his nation. Now, this next driver is someone who, you know, I looked at the flag and I don't even know where it's from. I'm so uneducated as an American. That's probably why they don't have me commentating this event. Netsky. This guy did really well performing for the Williams at the start of Season 2, Tier 3. He's got a lot of hope for him next season. He moved from the Williams to the Aston to the Mercedes Academy. He really floated all over the Academy with their cars. But really, he's going to be moving to another academy. You know, he is someone who is moving to another academy because Mercedes practically ridiculed him for, well, really, the liking of anime. Now, I've just got to say about this guy. He's got, I think, one podium to his name, and tried to commit a terrorist attack on Uri in the season finale of Japan. Now, how fitting that is one of the greatest countries for anime, just to, kind of put salt to the wound. Nonetheless, he'll be changing to the McLaren/Alpine Academy. So he's going to have to find another place where anime is accepted throughout the academy community. Nonetheless, Netsuki, although they do ridicule him for it in the Mercedes Academy, which is probably why they got rid of him, he is a very talented driver and is a future race winner based on what we're seeing. With this Tier 3 grid changing a lot for next season, do not be surprised if he does pick up one. And I'm sure McLaren/Alpine Academy next season will be a great home for him. Really fast driver, really likable guy as well. Now we're on to Tier 2. Tier 2. George Alp Williams. George Alp Willie. Groggers. No matter what happens within the Tier 2 spot or behind the scenes as admin, changing your identity won't make you forget that he was banned for basically 2 seasons of Tier 2, got a Mickey Mouse Tier 3 championship, and then came back to win the Tier 2 championship legitimately this time. Yes, George, you got some criticism for you for the Tier 3 championship. For some saying it's undeserved, but I have to give you a lot of credit, though. Making the largest comeback in Tier 2 history is very unprecedented. Very unprecedented. Now, this driver has really shaped himself to probably be one of the best in RPL's lowest tiers. He doesn't have a Tier 1 podium yet, but for George's case, he's getting close. Also, he went from probably about 5-6 wins across all RPL tiers, maybe 7 or 8, to now over 20. George is really doing great, and he's not the only Welshman represented in this showcase race. He's a really fantastic driver, and as long as he keeps his antics and everything away from it. Just remember Mexico last time with Invade. Hopefully there's no, false accusations there. We don't want to have any misinformation or disinformation put there. But hey, anyway, George won that race in Mexico in Season 1, controversially, of course, and won the championship. Trying to become the best showcase race driver here. And it doesn't matter where you stick him. You could stick him outside of the league in Tier 3, Tier 2, qualifying ban, behind the barn. He will win no matter what. That's how he has shown it. The next driver is Lennon. Probably the only driver that a commentators got a little too excited for on stream. Yes, I'm talking about the driver who won the first 2 Tier 3 races of Season 2 Tier 3. I'm also talking about the driver who finished 4th on track in Formula Endurance in the first ever race there, and then won it literally over 100 days later after Be Good got banned. Yes, I'm not joking. This guy had to wait over 3 months to win a race, or be declared a winner, of an event. He finished 4th on track, got moved up to the podium, eventually, and then won after Be Good was found to be a smurf. But for Lennon's case, or as some call him, Lemon, very talented driver. He actually won here in Tier 2 at Mexico once prior, and I would not be surprised to see him do it again. He probably should have won here in Tier 3 that time, but nonetheless, if he does win this event, it might have to take 100 days to give him a trophy for it, kind of like the last time in Formula Endurance. But you know what? He's really definitely found something here. A lot of podiums now in Tier 2. Maybe a potential future race winner again. That's why he's represented in Tier 2. The Titan man who's in this event, probably only because the fact that Gaki committed some heroics, also known as RPL's version of January 6th. He got indicted on 14 felony counts, which is why he's not allowed to race this event. Titan man, probably not much better for that case, but at least for him, he can definitely prove himself in this event. He probably should have won in every single start he's done, but again, being a part of the same team that had committed some January 6th terrorist acts and incited a riot and an insurrection in RPL, literally in RPL, I'm not joking, at least for his case here, in Red Bull, he can prove that that was just a one-time thing. Kind of like Trump proved that as well. But for the Titan man, it will definitely be a redemption case here. You got to prove why that was only really just a thing in Spain and Qatar and not again. It'll only be his 4th RPL start across all tiers here. And, you know, instead of being on Red Bull's terrorist priority, as some would say, he's on Ferrari's priority there. So really, Invade being a part of that watch list from being a part of Top Cars, really it's Invade and Cookie being a part of each other's watch list now with the Titan Men kind of being flung around there. Some also saying free Gagi. I just want to say that this is a democracy, not a republic. Red Fire Tiger, also someone who has been called a terrorist in the past. A few Tier 1 podiums to his name is very relevant. It's very relevant to mention this because he did all that in cars that were not great. He did it once a season, and then he decided, I'm not going to show up whatsoever here. It led to him being demoted to Tier 2, and then he got race wins there for the first time since back in the days of Equal. With these being Equal cars now, Red Fire Tiger might actually have a legitimate chance of winning. He also might have a legitimate chance of not causing any issues, which happened in the Mercedes Academy kind of at the end of the season with some incidents, and also in the past. But for Red Fire's case, I have to say, although he didn't win the championship and may have fumbled that one, probably worse than the Atlanta Falcons fumbled the 2017 Super Bowl, I must say with Red Fire's case, this is definitely one of the best comeback stories, regardless of championship status or not. He's really becoming one of the best drivers on this game cycle and really proving himself here with that being said. Race wins to his name in Tier 2. Almost some podiums this season in Tier 1, and obviously we mentioned the Equal wins there. Red Fire Tiger, got to give you a lot of credit. Only French driver competing in this event. The next driver is a driver that everyone seems to simp over in RPL, Mintoki. She actually has a 100% finishing rate in RPL in all the races she's competed in. She's competed in 3 to 4 Tier 1 races. I think she competed in a Formula Endurance race a while ago, no F2 races, and Tier 2 races. She thought when coming back to RPL after taking that little break, just because she's a woman, that she could be put in Tier 3, just because she had some time off. The admin said no, but this is why that time off and then coming back, really she got a chance to prove herself. Even being out of the car for quite a bit, she actually got faster, it seemed. And this game cycle actually helped her a lot, winning a social race back in Abu Dhabi, and then winning her first ever race in Qatar, becoming the first female in RPL to win in over a year, and the first to win in F1 cars. I've got to say about Mintoki, a lot of credit to be due to her. You know, you think for a female driver, and no disrespect to them, that she'd be a DEI hire, but actually she'd done really well. Although she's floated around each academy except for the Alpine Academy, 100% finishing rate. That has to go down as something really magical. And she's probably one of the only drivers to do so, barring myself, but I'm not going to have an ego over it. You know, I don't want to shine the light there. I just want to kind of simp here, just like the other drivers do. Over 25 starts, with that being said. So very impressive there. Mintoki, a race winner, and maybe a potential future Tier 1 point scorer. She turned off ABS just to race Tier 1 back in Season 10, so maybe some things are helping her have a better future here. FX7 Danny, one of the drivers who came over from Eggs League. You know, he originally had a podium for the first time, then got it taken away in the stewards room. Maybe it's because he represents FX7. I'm not sure. But for Danny's case, though, he started out in Tier 1 in RPL, and Invade by picking Danny up, helped him have a career revival here in Tier 2. A lot of podiums and almost a future race winner, I would say. He really got close a few times during Season 14, Tier 2. A lot of hope for the next season of Tier 2. And also, one other thing, he's probably the only driver who's collided with 3 different drivers in one qualifying lap when trying to get out of the way. That's impressive. All right, Tier 1. Time for Tier 1. RPL F1 Tier 1. My phone's ringing. My phone's actually ringing. Hold on, I need to hear who it is. It's Spam Risk. It's probably Leo Lund calling in saying that he's not competing in this event because he was banned for being too fast. I'm not joking. I mean, he's not in this lineup, but that's probably not the reason. Congratulations to Leo Lund on the championship, but He is not in this event. We're going to see if the Tier 1 drivers can really tackle things without him being there. Maybe we'll find out. The fake TB. Definitely not one of the fakest drivers when it comes to his pace. He really proved why he shouldn't have been on a V-carb to start the season. Damn it, Reese Dainty. Fake TB. Practically beat all of his teammates, barring Blue Gaki, which is probably why everyone's saying free Gaki now. I don't understand that. Anyway, the fake TB. Race winner once this season. Now, I know he got the Abu Dhabi podium taken away, but if he didn't, he would have been second on the all-time list. 52 podiums to his name. Very impressive. He almost won on a V-carb. I must say, the Italians would have gone crazy for that, including probably Ding. But the fake TB really did show that the Season 8 champion shouldn't be forgotten for his Season 8 miraculous effort that he pulled off there. This was not a fluke. Running on the podium in a V-carb probably at 5 different circuits before getting put up to a Red Bull has to be studied. But the fake TB, he's not a fake person. He's probably one of the nicest people you'll meet. Which is probably why every academy gives him an opportunity. He's going from Red Bull to McLaren alongside Jack Miles. You gotta wonder with what the fake TB did. Why did it take so long for him to get back to a top car again after being down and really out of podium contention for a while? He had to really prove it in the V-carb. Do people think he's fake just because he has fake in his name? Alright, speaking of fake, you know someone who can't keep their loyalty to an academy? Jack Miles. You know, he's the owner of RPL, so I'm going to go a little easy on him. I have to give him a lot of credit, though, for getting a podium in 9 of the 10 academies. He's just missing Haas F1 team, probably because a lot of people call it Ass F1 team. Nonetheless, though, Jack Miles, although he really can't keep loyalty to an academy, he's probably the only driver that really can have it said about them that he can adjust to any car. He's won on a Ferrari in Tier 1. He's won on a Red Bull in Tier 1. He's also run on a McLaren and an Aston Martin. Have that, Luke Grange. Anyway, Jack Miles, F2 champion again. 3-time F2 champion, by the way. Multiple-time Tier 2 champion. And maybe a future F1 champion. Almost beating Leo Lund. Really not almost. It just needed like 5 or 6 more races. But for Jack Miles' case, vice champion for the first time in Tier 1. And throughout all tiers, he's a 7-time champion. So I would personally say he's probably better than Jimmy Johnson or Dale Earnhardt. Difference between him and Dale Earnhardt is he's alive. Anyway, Kavus Bussi. You're hearing that right. NRM KVS here. It was his last full-time race in RPL Tier 1 last week, but that doesn't stop him from running the showcase race. Very good effort, though, for him to really show what he's capable of. A podium in a Ferrari, in a Mercedes, an Alpine. I mean, this guy just doesn't stop. He doesn't have a win, though. He's probably the best driver right now on this grid. Maybe barring Ag, of course. Who knows? We'll talk about him later. Without a win. For KVS's case, the 05 cannot really replicate to the amount of podiums he has now. He has more than that. And a Formula Endurance race winner, 1 Tier 2 start, multiple podiums in Tier 1. This guy deserved to be in here based on whatever car he raced in during the season or not. It didn't matter what he did. The Finnish driver is the only Finland driver in RPL, but, you know, similar to a lot of the drivers on a Friday night, he just can't finish the job when it comes to being so close. I must say, his only race win coming in a Formula Endurance tier makes exactly a lot of sense why he lasted longer than others, but couldn't do so in a shorter event in Tier 1. That's why he hasn't won yet. And hopefully he does win eventually. I think KVS has really got a lot of magic on him. I know he's not full-time next season, but if he can finish a good race here in Tier 1, he could really be a race winner here eventually. Skither, Tier 1 champion, F2 champion, Formula Endurance champion. Champion of cutting off things I shouldn't say. His nickname in the server is Skizzers. You know, probably the only driver in this event competing that went through a hurricane. I'm exactly right. He's a Florida native driver. He's won his home race before. He's got podiums there. I mean, he deserves a lot of credit. He also has had podiums in multiple Tier 1 seasons now consecutively. He's won across all tiers almost 70 times. I believe the exact number is 69. Nice job there, Skithers. But for his case, he was memed on for really showing up 8 times, 10 times a season of 20 races, and then winning the championship. He'd probably have more wins than Luke Grange if he showed up throughout a whole season and did every single race. Kind of like Reese Dainty does a merchant of doing that. But for Skither, you know, now it's not necessarily, am I going to show up 8 times and win a championship? It's more so, am I going to show up 5, 6 times a season and at least keep a full-time ride because of it? You know, the driving standards and the etiquette of keeping a seat and everything has definitely changed, because Season 8, Season 9, Season 7, Skither can pull it off and keep a seat and win a championship. Now that's really not the case so much anymore. But the only American on this lineup in Tier 1. Maybe you can consider Egg, our next driver, an American because he changes nationality every single Grand Prix. Egg, 3-letter name. Well, it went from AMS Egg to RPL Egg to Eggle07. You know, he doesn't have 7 podiums without a race win in Tier 1, but he's getting close there. Just like KVS, probably one of our best drivers not to win yet in RPL Tier 1. You got to wonder when that first win is coming. He's done it for AlphaTauri, he's done it for Red Bull, he's done it for Ferrari, Aston Martin, I think. I'm not sure. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But he's the Season 10 F2 champion. And he's probably the only driver on this list, and probably the whole RPL. I know Gagi will hate hearing this because he probably wants to have some little bit of fun fact alongside his name for it. Egg is probably the driver to get banned the most in RPL. I'm not joking. He had a 5-race ban in Tier 1 for a little bit due to heroics in F2. Got banned in F2 probably about 10 different times. The only one who could probably say more than that is Leon Miner. But for Egg's sake, though, a lot of pace, a lot of improvement on this game. Let's see what he can do, because honestly, Egg should probably have a Tier 1 win by now. Not sure why he doesn't, but it is what it is. The next driver, and the final driver to conclude this driver introduction that we're just kind of messing out about and also giving you some statistics, we're letting it basically be a roast of the drivers. And someone who deserves to be roasted is JTK, because he's probably got the fun fact for having the least amount of characters in their name by having an RPL championship or podium. Maybe the first Dutch champion, I'm not sure, but there are faster and better Dutch drivers than him, and they're probably Dutch drivers who've been out of prison. Yeah, JTK, I'm not going to let you live down the fact that JTK is an acronym for just touching. Well, I'm not going to finish that sentence. You can kind of finish it for yourself. But for JTK's case, a Tier 2 champion. Now, Formula Endurance podiums he had, and now Tier 1 podiums he's had. You know, he showed that it just takes a little bit to get used to things in a top car and then finally do the magic. I mean, if only Invade knew that during Season 9 of Tier 2. Egg and JTK, 2 drivers, podiums without wins. I mean, really, you have half the drivers having a lot of race wins in Tier 1 of this event, and you have half the other drivers not having race wins yet. But for JTK, really the thing for him is that it's only just got started. It's only just got started. And I'll tell you right now, for the Dutchman, a Tier 2 championship, most Tier 2 poles, he's got a lot of things to hold his head high on into this event. I don't think the 3-letter acronym is going to really distract anybody from what might happen during the event. He was someone who binned himself in the race lead in Texas back in Season 9 Tier 2, but you know what? That's ignored just because he's a better driver now. And hopefully he can keep those heroics out of the way. From what I've heard, he's going to know lines, so really, he might be touching the back of some people's cars in the meantime, if he doesn't figure that out, of course. So, those are your 18 drivers, a part of the RPL Showcase race this Saturday at 8 p.m. UK time, 3 p.m. Eastern for those Americans who are wondering. And, you know, although there is an election that has concluded, we'll be electing a driver who's the best from all tiers, and it might not be them. I don't know. We'll find out. Nonetheless, I'm Ryan Searles. I'm not going to be commentating on this event. That will be Owen and Mally41. we will see you guys for the showcase race this weekend. I hope you enjoy, and I hope to see you then, whether it's through the Twitch chat, on stream, drivers driving, whatever the case is. We hope to see you then this Saturday, 8 p.m. British Standard Time. I hope to see you then. Really going to be a fun time around the Mexico City circuit. No Mexican driver competing. I think that's a little racist, but you know, just be glad we're having a race here in between our RPL seasons. So tune into then. Until next time, folks, have a good one. We will see you next time.